Saints fans, what a week, what a win. 13 goals and a half of footy. Scintillating Saints, so much to talk about. Good way to end the year when it's not over yet, but it's been a good ending as of yet. Boys, how are we feeling? Sammy, Jake, welcome.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome, guys. I hate Geelong, and that's just the year made for me. I'm happy to check out now, to be honest. It's good to just beat Geelong. We should have beaten them in round one, and we didn't. And to do it that way, with so much riding on it for the Cats as well, and not to do it in a way that was kind of, you know, what everyone claims is Ross Lyon, dour, slow, boring football. It was almost made people speechless. It made commentators speechless. They were like, what's gotten into St Kilda? And there's no answer for Geelong. They just couldn't stop it. Yeah,
something we kept hearing, or at least I kept hearing from commentators, media personalities, was where did this come from? And while I don't think everyone was thinking, oh, yes, St Kilda are going to just turn up a gear and kick 13 goals in a half, I feel like we've been capable of this all year. And it's been frustrating for us as fans to not see that and be pretty far off of it. So to finally get it, yes, at the wrong time of the year, it's frustrating, but we can just see this as pre-season 2025. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Sammy, how you feeling? How do you go on Saturday night?
Well, it was a tale of two halves. Yeah, you can tell I've got a bit of vocal awareness at the moment.
That's good. So that's what we want.
Tale of two halves. I want to know what Ross said to them at halftime and get it laminated and signed.
I'll tattoo it on my back.
Yeah, like the first half was like watching your favourite pub burn down. That was our worst, one of our worst halves of footy, and the second half was probably our best.
It was our
player
best
footy this year, I reckon.
Yeah.
So it was very much a tale of two halves, but got the win. It was fantastic in the end. Yeah.
Were we like as poor as we were in the first half? I guess we weren't always out of it. It didn't feel like on the scoreboard Geelong got the bang for buck that maybe they deserved.
No, they could have buried us more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We were appalling in that first half.
Yeah.
Like we were so bad. It was near unwatchable. Yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
I thought we were still in the game. I didn't think we were terrible. Definitely some areas we needed to clean up. Our midfield just got smashed. I think that's where it really
they were
went
getting
wrong
embarrassed. Yeah.
The thing is, I said last week, if we play slow, uncontested football, they'll kill us on the turnover, and it's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We were so slow, and they're pretty slow as well. Some players are fast, but most of them are slow, uncontested, and it didn't work.
Yeah, well, I read a stat somewhere that in the first half we had, 40 like sort of possessions or something like that in the middle of the ground, but in the second half we had 94.
Yeah.
So everything, like there were so many passages in the second half where we were on the wing, and in the first half we would have gone down the line, or it would have been a boundary throw-in, whereas in the second half we had composure to actually cut inboard, and then that's where the fat side was completely open, like that example where Wood ends up kicking it to Tim Membry, who equalises the score.
Yeah.
You know? So it's, I don't know, like what Ross said at I asked Hunter Clark, and he didn't give me anything.
I heard that I can't remember what player said it. Maybe Wilson. It was that Ross challenged the midfield at halftime, whatever that means. And then Rowe in his full-time interview said that they got a spray, and then Steely in the next interview said that they didn't. So it's kind of unclear.
I'll backtrack. Hunter Clark did actually give a good example, so go and watch that. But and then I think they asked Steely or someone post-game if he kind of went off at the players, that he had to do one of those classic, just yell at them and get them going. And apparently he didn't do that. It was pretty level. It's pretty calm. And, like what you said, like challenged the boys, and they lifted for it.
Yeah, definitely. Just getting smashed in the midfield. Though, Wilkie got clean bowled. Steele hit the post. Things weren't going. We had a lot of shots at goal. Well, a lot of scoring opportunities at least. They were low percentage shots, but nonetheless, we gave ourselves a chance. Only down by 5 goals, which is a significant margin, but it's better than 10. So we come out firing. Within the first 10 minutes of the third quarter, we'd kicked almost 5 goals already. I think we kicked 6 straight before they got one back. We took the lead back. I don't even know where to start, because there was just so many standouts, so many highlights. I don't think it's one of those wins where you can go through every player, because they all played and we'd beat them all day. But you kind of just go in terms of areas of the ground, and you're right. Midfield was where we were getting beaten. Danger was walking it out. The annoying thing was in the second quarter there was 10 minutes where we kept it in there and we started to lock it in. But we kicked 1 goal out of that 10 minutes, and then they kicked 3 very quick ones. So it's kind of that classic, that's what it felt like watching it was, this is our year, it's kind of all this unrewarded effort, but we actually started getting reward
for the effort. We started to outwork them and outrun them, which is what we said was our go-to, skill set in the off-season was we were going to be fitter than everyone, and kind of proved it.
Yeah. No, big time. So the way we almost ran the ball into goal at the end of the game was awesome. Sharman's goal to put us in front. Higgins getting on the end of a beautiful contest from Owens and Skunk. Just so many great moments. Butler's turnaround goal. Like the way we scored was fast. Like you said last week, Sammy, Geelong, they hate pace, and you said on the way in, Jake, if you give Geelong time to set up, you're never going to get through. But then in that second half, we just went, and we went quickly, and it was just awesome to watch. Sammy, what were some key takeaways for you?
Young kids. Garcia, if that wasn't proof, he should have been playing for the majority of the game. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Darcy Wilson, that was a return to form for him. He was fantastic. He'd probably be close to a rising star.
Would he get Brownlow votes in that game?
Yeah, he could. Maybe one or two.
Potentially. Yeah.
Potentially. But yeah, I mean, the takeaway is that at our worst, we're a horrific, horrific side who will be beaten by even the worst teams in the comp. And at our best, there's no one who can match our run and carry. And I've watched a lot of games this year, and I'm not saying it through bias or anything else.
How I feel. Yeah.
But that's the fastest I've seen any team move the ball from half back out of any other team in the comp. Maybe just a little bit better than GWS. But if you watch how fast they move the ball and how quickly they score, we're very comparable in terms of how we move the ball when we're going at pace.
And sorry to cut you off there,
right.
but yeah, you got the Giants, you got the Hawks, and you got us. And I think, you look back on, at the end of every season, we look back on who's won the flag and what their template was and this and that. This could very well be a year where it's a Giants, Hawthorn sort of. They could win it, both those teams, the way they're playing. And that's the template. And Ross knew from literally his first interview, getting the job at the Saints for the second time, I know these boys can run. He knew that already. He identified that's a skill set that could be utilised. And we've talked about flags gone by with teams that are very good contested, or they're very good. Geelong with their possession game in 22 when they won it, it was very much a high mark, slow the ball down and, just kind of cut your way through the opposition. I think this is almost a way that can bypass. You still need guns in the midfield, but run and carry doesn't take A-grade talent. Run and carry is just positioning and timing and execution.
Yep.
And when you get that right, it doesn't matter how many A-graders you got. If you're hitting targets and you're doing it quick, you're cutting through any team out there. I don't care who you are.
Well, look at Burns and Wood. they're good players.
But they're not A-graders.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're slicing through, Geelong, who are touted as a top 4 flag fancy before the game.
Yeah. Oh, big time. And momentum is just a crazy thing in footy. When you've got the momentum, you play with confidence. And an actor that showed that everything is just going for us was when Butler just taps it over the top of his head and falls into Hunter Clark's lap, and he kicks it to one of our forwards. It was just beautiful to watch, and it just felt like nothing could go against us. Darcy Wilson almost kicked goal of the year, unfortunately hit the post.
Jeez, that was a good rove, though, off the pack.
Oh, big time, yeah. And he ended up with 2 goals, 3. We'll get to Darcy in a bit.
Just on the running capacity, we did break a record. I tweeted it yesterday, I think. We ran at sort of... There's a certain level of quickness that they track, and it's 18 kilometres or above. We ran 52 kilometres at 18 kilometres per hour or more, which is a record ever tracked. So that's, you talk about being fast, that's very fast. We ran, I think there was 370 kilometres all up or something in the game or something. I was looking at the Telstra track, I have to check it. But again, it's well above average for what AFL teams are doing this season. So I think... we're not just looking a little quick on the eye and it's maybe we're a little bit quicker. It's the numbers backed it. We were making Geelong run themselves into the ground, basically, and they couldn't keep up.
Yeah, big time. And something I've heard you talk about, Jake, already with your videos is we can score. We proved that we can. Yeah. The first half, 3 goals. Well, a goalless first quarter even. 13 goals in a half of footy is just absurd. We are more than capable, And I guess this feeds into a bigger discussion of what have we learnt from this year? What is this year going to mean for us as a club? Well, I've heard a lot of talk about it, and I agree with it, is that this year is huge for us. This is a huge learning year for us. We can take this as a step into next season. And the way I almost see these last few games, it's 2025 pre-season. You know, and I love Ross's mentality. His ideology as a coach is that you prepare for every game as if it's a grand final. Doesn't matter if it's, you know, the community match game against North at the start of the year or a dead rubber against Richmond at the end of a season where neither of you can make finals. Every game you prepare for, you know, meticulously like you would any other week, and that's going to get you where you want to go, because round 1 next year, guess what? We're going to be ready to go. So I'm bloody excited for next year.
Well, everyone looks at that Richmond in 2017, that first half where we kicked 91 points to 10. That was 14 goals in a half, and we've done 13.
Yeah.
So just in terms of comparison, like on that night, we're all thinking, holy crap, this is like we're going to win by 200 points here. That's 14 goals. We were 1 goal off that against the Cats. So just in terms of perspective, like how dominant that half was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it just didn't look like it was ever going to end. And I had a point here about the points per game. What are we on? 4 out of 5 over 102 points that we've kicked.
Yeah.
That's not, discounting the 39 points we kicked against Brisbane, which is, that's absurdly low even for a Ross Lyon. Dower Ross Lyon led.
But I think
game.
In order to be good and in order to compete, if we can't bridge the gap between our worst and best football, we're just not going to make finals, to be honest with you. Because if we do the same thing we've done this year as we do next year, we will be bottom 4 again. And how do we bridge that gap? I don't know. I just still think we need better players in our midfield, whoever those players may be. And this slow, dour, uncontested defensive game plan needs to just go.
Yeah.
Be sidelined completely, because it doesn't work.
No, it's proven. It's proven it doesn't work. When we do that, we lose, and when we don't do it, we win.
Yeah.
And we win well when we don't do it.
Yeah. No, there's still so much to improve on with the list and some off-field stuff, absolutely. Yeah. But it feels like we're trending in the right direction. And this year, the result, we've won 10 games or whatever, and people will throw we've 6 of our losses were by 10 points or less. And I've been saying it for the last few weeks, our form since the bye, since that West Coast game in Perth, that sort of range, I think has been really solid. The first half of the year, we had those close losses, but you can't deny the way we were playing. It wasn't good. It's just, to put it bluntly. But yeah, I feel like we, outside of that start of the year, there was a few good results in there. We actually have been building, I would argue. But it was fitting that it was Saints Say Thanks round, or the thank you to the members round. It couldn't have been a better atmosphere. Only 31k, which it's not a sellout, but still pretty impressive for a Saints game.
Yeah, got loud.
By the low standards we've set for ourselves this year.
Yep.
But I mean, man, the atmosphere was unbelievable. Those last couple goals we kicked, the roof was pretty much blown off. How did you guys go at the game on Saturday night?
Yeah, because it's a mixture of I was cheering because I hate the Cats, and also because I really enjoyed.
I feel that. Yeah.
I really enjoyed us winning. So it was kind of a mixture.
I love how seriously
thing.
you said that.
Yeah, it's not a joke. I genuinely don't like you guys.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Carlton this week. It's going to be the same. But also, I know how much it's riding on for Carlton too. So it's I'm going for Saints, I'm going for Carlton not playing finals, and I'm going for Carlton because I hate Carlton.
Yeah.
So there's 3 things I'm cheering for this weekend, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I was pretty, I don't know, I was just sitting back and enjoying it. It's just really nice to enjoy and see the boys have fun, isn't it? Just I can cheer every contest, and I did, but sometimes you just sit back and you're like, look at how good these guys are playing. This is what they're capable of. It's nice seeing players that people have questioned all year, or even a coach, to deliver something like that. Kind of against the odds as well, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Classic underdog sort of status, just tick that off.
Well, we were totally up against it for the first half of the game. Nothing was going our way.
Nah.
Yeah. But things can change. I mean, how many times have teams done that now?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's it's not who's the best team this year that's going to win the flag. It's the team that shits the bed the least.
That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
That's what I love the most.
It's if... It's almost annoying that, this year, out of all years, we can't quite just sneak into the 8, because it's one of those, everyone says it's one of those years where a team outside the top 4 could genuinely cause some problems. And you look at the teams outside the top 4, namely Hawthorn, they could do some damage.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that the Saints aren't going to be there, but it's going to be a good final series. I think footy fans are licking their lips.
But if you look at the positive, it enables us to address our primary issue of concern, which is we need an A-grade midfielder. And not that I'd ever condone, deliberately playing poorly, because I don't think we are. But I think it's a gift nonetheless, because we need it, desperately.
Yeah.
Of course, and all signs point toward a compensation pick as well. Right now, it's pick 6 and 7. If Gold Coast smash Richmond, even if we win, it could be a pick 5 and 6. So,
yeah,
that's going to be exciting to get some high end talent through the door. You're wearing the stick man, Jake.
Yes.
We wore it on the weekend as well.
Yeah,
what do you guys think of that jumper? I mean, as long as we keep winning in it, I don't care. But I got to be honest.
I love it. I love Stickman. I love that jumper. When they played in it, it was a practice game against North or Essendon.
Yeah,
one of the practice games. Yeah, I wanted them to wear that Guernsey as our away Guernsey. It's just cool. It's cool when we bring out retro stuff.
I do. I like the Guernsey. I thought it was interesting with the black shorts. Man,
it did look a bit.
I was like, we kind of look like Essendon from behind.
But the red shorts last time, I'm like, nah, too much red.
I get that.
Too much red.
And it's our home game, so you're not going to go white, especially if Cats wearing. I think they were wearing white shorts anyway. But yeah, I love that Guernsey. So. Yeah, no surprise. Our merch game's been pretty strong for about 2 years straight now.
We always sell out. We always go on and buy things and it's sold out.
Yeah, and then every Saints fan saying they're poor, yet everything's sold out. It's like, you're not that poor if you're buying it. So
no, exactly. I don't love it, but if you keep...
I think I got this last year, week of the finals.
Yeah.
They released this for that.
Yeah, I've got the grey one. I love the Stickman silhouette.
Yeah.
I don't love the Guernsey, but hey, you keep winning in it. You
Saints
can
footy on
you can
the back
wear it
as well.
all you want. Yeah, for sure. Boys, who were some standouts to me? Because you did say everyone contributed, which they did. No one had a bad game by any stretch. But man, I just thought the skipper was huge. When he hits the scoreboard, we almost always win. Kicked 2 goals, 1 hit the post as well. Just a contested beast. 10 tackles, 10 score involvements. That's just some vintage Jack Steele for you right there. And if he can carry that form into next year and we get some support around him, then it could mend a lot of our issues. What do you guys make of his game?
He was brilliant for a half. That's it. I think Callum Wilkie is our most important player. If it wasn't for him, we would have been another 4 or 5 goals down.
Yeah.
He was 100% for 100% of that game. He was the only player that saw the whole game through. Everyone else, it was sort of a half of football, but I think he was the one for me.
I think, Jack was immense, and it's good timing because he's going to come up against potential Brownlow favourite this weekend. So he's hitting form at the right time, which is great. But I like that. That's a string to his bow that he's always had, but I feel like he doesn't utilise it as much because we don't dominate the midfield like we did in that second half in most games.
The goal scoring?
Pushing forward.
Yeah. Because
if we're not winning the clearance, I feel like he's the captain, he's our best mid on paper. He feels the responsibility to go win the ball as opposed to, I'm going to drift forward and back Hunter Clark and back Paddy Dow to win the clearance, and then I'll go and do some damage forward to centre.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him identify that because he's a great set shot and he always finds the right spots to take a mark. And we'll need that again this week.
For sure. Yeah, no, I thought he was great throughout. Wilkie was great throughout the whole game. 15 marks, just absurd. And I thought Battle didn't have a great game, but shut down Jeremy Cameron, which I think is one of the toughest tasks in AFL.
And the only goals Cameron got were those 2 cheap junk time goals at the end.
Yeah, he kicked a good one from 55. That was a nice set shot.
Yeah, he had 3, but 2 of them were well late, as you mentioned. And you already mentioned Sammy, but Garcia, I mean... Surely he's in the starting.
He has to be. That chase down tackle was so good. And the people around me, like if it wasn't me, it was other people. I was deaf after that. I had no voice.
Yeah. And
so good.
I love that Saints fans just all unanimously agree that Hugo is just elite and everyone wants him in the side.
He's A grade. I love that he was a late in for Sandy and then just went and got 10 tackles and dominated. Sandy
he still played VFL exactly right.
He still played the VFL.
And underrated because it didn't turn into a goal, but his kick to Jack Higgins inside 50 was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I had someone hit me up after the game who I think worked with him at another footy club, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. They said he's always the first one in at training and always the last one to leave. Always. He's that sort of kid that he's a workhorse.
Yeah. So how long was he on for? Because it felt like he was touching the ball every couple of minutes.
15 minutes.
4 score involvements.
4 score involvements from 6 possessions in 15 minutes and a rundown tackle.
I would say that's pretty elite. That's elite for a quarter even.
Yeah.
The annoying thing is though, that justifies almost the fact that he is the perfect sub in a bad way. You know what I mean?
I know.
Because a perfect sub is someone that can come on in a limited amount of time and make the biggest impact with the fewest possessions. What did he do?
Yeah.
He did all
exactly
of that.
Exactly that. Yeah.
That's a perfect sub.
Yeah.
No, it is. Like,
Yeah, I know. I
to
see what you're saying,
Yeah.
but
I'm-
if he can do that for a whole game, why wouldn't
True,
you have him do
but
that?
maybe-
for a
He
whole
did it
game?
against the Giants as well. Came on and had like 8 tackles in a quarter. or
That's the
something.
thing
Yeah.
is, does Ross think, oh, maybe he can't run it a full AFL
surely.
game?
I think only 15 minutes is a bit stiff.
No, that's very
like,
stiff. But I think
at least a half for me if you're
it would
sub.
if the game didn't turn that crazily and we didn't dominate and we weren't that comfortable, I dare say he would have come on closer to half time. But because it was midway through the third, we were on top, and I'm like, do we just pull the pin and get him on now? Because I thought Burnsy, Butler hadn't done anything at that point. There were a few players there that could have easily been subbed off. And Jaden was like, we're red hot now. Ross is not going to change a thing. You don't change something that isn't broken. And I think it hampered him coming on for maybe 30 minutes, maybe even the full last quarter, a bit of the third, because we were so dominant. But yeah, I think now with Brad Hill out, I think that opens the door a little bit.
Yeah.
Brad Hill out for how long?
We don't know.
No idea.
I know
He'll be
back
at least a
issues.
test, yeah. And Hammer's out for it with the shoulder.
Yeah, so there'll be at least 2.
Yeah, right.
Paddy Dow probably stays in. I think he did probably enough.
He was serviceable.
Serviceable. He had some good clearance work.
I just can't see Ross making any changes outside of injury after a game like that. He just seems like that sort of coach,
Yeah.
you'd think.
Yeah.
Before we get into Mosh back to your best, the play of the game for me absolutely was Mitch Owens, Tim Membry going up in one of the biggest contests of the game. Both of them came crashing down, lost their feet, and Higgins just swept it up and kicked it. I thought that was just so awesome. It was right in front of me. The impact was huge. Both of them could have easily got injured doing that, but just courageous, committed, prepared to put their body on the line. Like, that's just Saints footy for you, so I love it. But let's get into Mosh back to your best. Jakey, who is it this week?
This week, it could have been a couple of players, to be honest. I got a lot of votes for Steely, Roma, got plenty as well, Wilkie. But the most was Darcy Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think it's well deserved. The whole point of the thing is it's back to your best.
Yeah,
the other
big time.
blokes, they've been at their best for a while. And he's the sort of player that started like a house on fire. He's played every game this season, kind of mellowed out midway through, and we thought maybe he needs a bit of a spell at Sandy. And to be honest, he's picked up the last couple of weeks to the point where he's actually had a career best game in round 23 in his first season. So that's awesome. My favourite part wasn't his goals. There was the part where he kind of saw Mason Wood in his periphery and hooked the kick, and that's when Wood passes it to Hill. I thought that says almost more to me than his goals. That awareness, that maturity to hit that target under pressure was beyond his years.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that differentiates him between other players who are in our midfield.
Yeah.
As much as I like Jack Steele, he's very workmanlike and easy to read. You know where he's going to kick 9 times out of 10. You know what he's going to do because that's a player he is. Whereas Wilson has, maybe he is going to become that A-grade talent we've been looking for, because the great games he's had this year would indicate that his peak is very, very high if he's only going to get better. Because 2 goals and what was it, 20...
2 goals, 3 as well.
2 goals, 3,
25 touches,
25 touches in a game.
Yeah.
That's elite for anyone's standards.
Yeah.
So...
And the rove, he didn't kick the goal, but that was the timing, the speed that he took that ball, and the finish on his non-preferred. I know he'd hit the post, but it hit it by
It was an inch.
nothing.
Yeah. Barely.
That is absolute top shelf stuff.
But that's what we've been asking for as well, midfielders to kick goals. Because no one really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally they pop up, but, we need more players like that or play like that.
Yeah. The goal that he did kick out of the centre, where he kicked it from almost 60 out.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. You can't buy that sort of stuff. Just goals out of nowhere.
That's just instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time. Surely it's too late for him to win the Rising Star, right? Couldn't do it from here.
I reckon,
His stats sit on par with Ollie Dempsey at the moment.
Yeah.
They're pretty close. I'd say they're pretty close.
The annoying thing is, though, that Ollie Dempsey's going to play finals.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to play a couple of good games. And I know that doesn't necessarily count, but it will, because it's recency bias, and they'll think about that. If he has a big qualifying final, you telling me that wouldn't impact the result? Of course it would.
Maybe. Oh, don't they do the All-Australian team
Or do
in
they
the
do
finals bye?
Or do they do it in the bye?
Pretty sure.
Oh, well then,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I think he's probably left it too late, but hey.
If he has
wins
another
it-
game like this on the weekend, then he gives himself a chance.
He'll
for
be
sure.
close.
He'll be
Yeah.
top 3.
He'll be close. But, we don't need him to win a Rising Star.
Yeah,
Who cares?
exactly.
We know
Yeah.
what he can do.
Yeah. say he finishes top 3, which we expect him to, that's 2 years in a row we've had a player in the top 3 for the Rising Star. And as a young club, that's exactly what you want,
exactly.
right? So many other... Sammy, did you have a Mosh back to your best or someone that you would have brought in second, maybe?
Everyone was pretty great. Like, there's no one... I mean, obviously Darcy Wilson is the standout because he's had a couple of quiet weeks, and now that's been bookended by just a monster game. Steele was a lot better. I think Paddy Dow is building nicely. He's still at a point where I'd say he's just doing what he has to. He's not doing more. But he's building each week, which I like to see because he's one of those players that kind of needs to lift. A little bit.
At his age and... He had the interrupted preseason, but, hopefully next year, full preseason and gets going.
Pick 4, 23 years old, he should be cracking. But, not quite there yet, so maybe he needs a bit more time.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, there's so many stands out. Jones's tackle on danger and just his whole game, his whole endeavour is just fantastic. I mean, Cooper again. Stocker, I thought, gave us really solid minutes in the midfield. Sinclair, as always. Membry, Burns, list just goes on. Hunter Clark, one of his best games in the midfield.
Yeah, Hunter, God.
And what was that? That 58% game time. And he had 22 touches
possessions.
Or something.
His disposal efficiency as well. He just glides through traffic. We'll sidestep players that are sprinting at 100 miles an hour toward him like it's nothing.
And he's not the biggest bloke.
No, and he's not super fast either, but he's agile. And that counts for something. But we don't have enough players with those sort of skills and the ability to read the game that he does.
But a full season next season out of him, and that goes a long way to winning a lot of games.
Even Higgins as well, kicked 3 goals, but more importantly than that, because some of them were on the goal line, he was just around and a presence and causing chaos.
Possessions.
He was one of our better players. And a moment I loved was Webster tackling Gary Rowan, just at the right moment where he didn't give away a downfield free kick, but he affected the kick and it goes out of bounds. That was in the third. Man, it's just awesome. And I don't know if I've misheard or what was going on, but I think Ross Lyon in his presser said that there was something about Jimmy Webster, and he just said, "Oh, Jimmy's signed." Or something. Did you hear that as well?
Yeah. Jimmy signed. So that's
the club hasn't officially announced that, but there you go.
But he just got that out of the way.
Jimmy Webster's going on for another year, it sounds like. Let's jump into some Jake's junk mail.
Yep, let's do it.
Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail.
This one's from Tiff. She says Ross is playing 3D chess. Next year it's coming together. Do you reckon his master plan behind the scenes? He's like, that's what I've been trying to show the rest of the league. Do you reckon it's all coming to the surface, Sammy?
Potentially, but I want to see how we play when Max King comes back. I won't believe it till I see it.
Good point.
Yes or no from both of you? Do we play finals next year?
No.
Yes.
Yes. I think yes.
I think we do. Paul says, would you offer Melbourne... this is ridiculous. Would you offer Melbourne pick 6 and 7 for Petrarca or even another future first?
No, Petrarca's 28. We won't even be in our flag window by the time he's retiring. So
exactly right. I even heard David King,
he's too old,
who I rate, but he had a shocking call. He said, package those picks and Max King for Petrarca.
What the hell?
I thought, jeez. So throw away everything.
He
everything
also labelled us the most disappointing team.
Yeah, but he's saying that off the back of him rating us as a final side this year.
That to me is him just... Yeah, he's just trying to cover his tracks a little bit.
Because he said we were going to be top 4.
Yeah. So
everyone else had us bottom 4.
Really
so
what he's saying is they're really disappointing because I had an enormous multi on them and it's not coming off now, This one's from Jess Garcia. What is left for this kid to do to prove he deserves to play a full game of AFL? Is there anything or is it just a matter of time?
I think it's a matter of time and size. He's very slight.
They just need the spot to open up in the side for him, I guess.
Yeah. Chad says, is Nick Riewoldt due back in Australia in 2025? If so, King, Caminiti and Sharman mentor. I don't think... I've thought about it for too many years, Rui coming back, especially with all the pressure on King to come back and mentor him. I don't think we're going to see Rui at any point as a coach.
And I think his asking salary would be way too high.
Yeah.
I genuinely just don't think we could afford to pay him as a forward line coach.
One day a week.
Yeah, it sounds great, but it's just logistically, I don't know if that's what would work or even what we need, to be honest.
Yeah.
But maybe, you never know.
This one's from Little Little Man Maine. Who's a player you'd love to see in the Saints colours? One realistic pick and one wild pick. One realistic pick.
Is it like draft picks?
As in, like, pick one player that's realistic that we could get that could play for the Saints, and one that's just wildly outrageous.
James Peatling. How many times have I said this? Get him.
That's a realistic one.
Give him 700. He's worth it.
Yeah.
He's good. Watch his
I'm going to say one that's realistic. I think Luke Parker would be great for one season
How
next
old
year.
is he? 30.
He's 31. His game on the weekend,
He was awesome.
he was unreal.
Yeah, he was
Midfield
awesome.
bull, and he kicked 3 when they needed it. And he's got leadership. He's won a flag. He's an ultimate professional. We're going to probably lose some senior players in the offseason. That's well documented. And you don't want to be like North, where you lose too much experience too quickly. I think he's perfect for
How much
it.
should you pay him?
And is he contracted?
You'd have to.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
I reckon you'd have to give him at least 700 to pull him.
Ooh.
But considering the players that are not going to be playing next season, we'd have that easily.
Yeah.
That's Brad Crouch and Seb Ross.
That's true. Crouch is on that, yeah.
You've got change there still.
Wait, is Crouch on more than 7? Or just...
Yeah, I think
he was 650 when
He was
signed.
657, yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's pretty much the same. You
Yeah,
swap
okay.
out Crouch, you get Parker. I'd be up for
I
that.
hadn't really thought about that, but you kind of just talked me into it. I can't lie.
I think it's.
He's
I
a
think
great
it's
player.
I think it's one that might build some steam.
Yeah.
Not that
Like-
I've heard anything. I'm just.
Yeah,
This is what I would do.
no
but
disrespect to Crouch or Ross.
No.
But Parker, I would take over both of
Parker.
those.
What I love about Parker is he can go forward and impact.
Yeah.
He can
He's a
kick
game
goals.
changer.
Yeah.
Oh, and some unrealistic ones.
And an
Harley
unrealistic
Reid,
one.
Nick Dacos.
Harley Reid, unrealistic. Yes.
What
That's
about
another one.
Bond?
Yeah,
Charlie
Bond, yeah.
Charlie Kerner would be nice. I
Yeah.
fit Charlie Kerner. But we need a backman, so Sam Taylor, that's unrealistic, but I'd take Sam Taylor. Fullback.
Okay. I'd take Jeremy McGovern. I love...
Over Sam Taylor?
Yep.
I mean, he's getting old, but
prime
Jeremy
McGovern.
Yeah.
He's still playing some amazing football.
Hey, I reckon he'll be All-Australian this year.
Even though he's like
Yeah.
30,000 years old.
Yeah. Good question, that.
Yeah, that was a really good question. Diego Assman, should we give I don't even need to say. I just want to say it because it's there. It feels like it just deserves it. Should we give each player a pizza after every win? That way the players can say, let's do it for the slice, guys. Is that a quote from a movie?
I don't get
Is
it.
there some innuendo there? I don't know. Am I going to get stitched up?
I'm lost.
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that. This one's from Nick to Seat. Nathan Jones has been very solid in the last month. Do you think he'll get another contract?
Nathan Jones.
Well, he's been doing a good job on 7.
I have-
37 now.
I haven't made a
Hey,
mistake there. It is actually Nathan Jones.
he could be talking about Nathan Jones on Channel 7 if 7 are going to offer him another contract.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
been
pull him
performing
out of
pretty well
retirement.
on it.
Well, Swanee's putting up some good
genuinely,
numbers.
is Jones getting a contract? Because his form has been solid.
It's I think it's up in the air. I don't know.
I would say it's more likely than not because
you-
you
if
can't
you-
let go of too many senior players.
No, that's my point. You can't lose maybe a Crouch or a Seb and Jones.
Well, I reckon Crouch and Seb are almost locks at this point, whereas Jones is
Locks to be
playing.
gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
whereas Jones is playing some of the best football he's played in quite a few years.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I hate to say it, but I just have a feeling the ship had already sailed.
Yeah,
But
it's hard to
I don't know.
tell.
It would be good to have him for another year.
Yeah. And the last one was about Jones. Says he earned his contract. This one's a good segue into the Carlton game. $20 pint. He's asking. $20 pint. Bloody hell. Are they that expensive now?
I don't know. I only drink Bundy.
I mean, $20 for a pint, unfortunately, isn't that outrageous these days.
So it's an accurate username.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you bring in for an injured Hammer next week? So we'll use that as a segue to talk about the big game. Thanks,
Man,
everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think Philippou, if he's fit, I think he was sick again, which is annoying. If he's fit, you got to bring him in. And then the only other one that I really want to see is Ari, who's performed very well in the twos, kicked a great goals, probably best on for them. But outside of that, it's really Hammer and Hill. Those two are up and about. And we talked about, does Seb Ross get a farewell game? All signs are pointing to him retiring. He's been a 2-time best and fairest player, pretty good servant for our footy club in a dark period. We are playing for, nothing, I guess. Ross said he laughed at that, which I agree with him. But What do we think? Does Seb Ross get a farewell game? What do we think of the changes?
I'll voice my opinion on this. Going to the Sydney Essendon game on Friday night and seeing Dyson Heppel not run out with his teammates made me, as a neutral fan, really uncomfortable.
Yeah?
And I think it's incredibly disrespectful. I don't really care if they're no longer part of the best team or not, but if I think someone's been such a brilliant servant of the club for such an extended period of time, through such a tumultuous time, I think it's only right. Even if he is the sub and he comes on for 15 minutes at the end, I think it's a way, not only for us as fans, but for him to have that final farewell. Anything outside of that, I wouldn't be okay with.
Yeah,
that's exactly my thinking. I think if we do, I think he deserves it.
Yep.
But only as the sub. I wouldn't start Seb Ross.
I agree with the sub thing.
Garcia in, Seb sub.
Yeah.
Pooh in for Hill.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe,
Jack Hayes or someone
sort
for
that out.
Caminiti.
Yeah, to add on, I agree with you guys. To add on to what Sammy's saying, the other thing with, like, if you're Essendon, right, tell me they wouldn't have been more of a chance to win that game with Dyson Heppel in the side.
Yeah,
all your players run out, you know, playing for that as well as what they're already playing for. And Heppel isn't like, you know, the 40th man on
he's
that
still
squad.
probably close
He's like
to their
24th,
best.
25th.
Yeah.
Ross would be the same for us. Like, you'd think surely just give him a quarter.
Yeah.
Surely, right?
But it's what they bring with them as people that makes it almost more important than the players they are. And I think it's relevant for both parties there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're both brilliant custodians of the club.
Yeah. But if Ross went to Seb and he's like, and this is all, there's nothing announced. So this is could be a mute discussion, really, if he actually doesn't retire or doesn't happen this week. But if they go to him and say, Seb, you know, you're wrapping up, we want to play this week, and Seb goes, I want you boys to go out and win, and I'm not part. Like, I'm happy to sit that one out. And he says it himself. I'm happy to not play, no problem. And we do that.
Yeah.
What then? What, we're still going to yell at the club?
I feel like
we can't force. If he says I'm all good, I'm happy to.
He's going to say that anyway because that's just in his
Do you reckon
character.
Dyson would have said that?
Yes,
reckon?
he's publicly
in
said
the
that.
in the presser. Brad Scott got grilled about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's simply he's not part of the best team. That's what it is. Oh yeah, I think he should be given a choice. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think he's going to say no anyway. Like
If
Dyson
it was a
Heppel
grand
said
final
no.
and they announced retirement, would you play him then?
Well,
as
that's
a sub?
obviously a completely different situation.
Well, I mean, they were
But if
trying
we
to
think
win a
about
game
it-
to make finals.
It would realistically be sub. It'd be a quarter at best.
Yeah, I think it's a sub. I wouldn't play the full game.
I'd just do it. It's one more game.
Seb Ross is up?
Yeah, I'd absolutely do it.
you know what-
And you know that he's going to have a fire in his belly because it's his last game of football ever, if that happens.
And it's a two-pronged positive because if we're losing, bringing him on, that'll get us up and down. Go, let's
The
get
fans
it
will
to Seb.
stick around
And if we're winning and he comes on, that's another bloody lift for the players.
For sure.
And we're seeing that game out and getting the points.
The one argument against all this, which we were talking about earlier, is that it goes against Ross's narrative of we field the best team
It's
every
selection
week.
integrity.
We play every game as if it's a grand final. Like you said, what would you do if it's a grand final? Well,
wouldn't
if
play
we
him.
do play every game like it's a grand final,
Then he doesn't play.
But this is an outlier scenario, so you can't
think,
apply that with the same brush to every single game.
yeah.
But again,
So, you've got to change and bend the rules for situations like
You'd
this.
think,
Otherwise,
yeah.
it makes them stupid.
Yeah.
we'll either have him as the sub or he will not announce it until post-season to avoid this whole charade.
That'd be pretty disappointing,
I think that's probably
to be honest.
I think, and then he'll just get something nice at the best and fairest.
Yeah.
But
I
again,
think
we don't know, so
we all agree if he's
let's
retiring,
just-
we'd like to see him out there.
Let's focus on the Blues.
For sure. Yeah, well, it's a huge game, really. They're playing potentially for a final spot. If they win, they're locked in. If they lose, they have to wait for the Port Freo game to finish. And if Freo win that, then they'll be out. So a lot on the line for them. They played a pretty good game against West Coast. They're getting applauded a lot for beating a second-last side, but, that's besides the point. Well, obviously, their injury list is very well reported. What do we think? What are we going to do against the Blues?
Firstly, I love that the AFL or 7AFL had to post a hypothetical of how Collingwood could still make finals.
I saw that.
That was the AFL.
And all
Win
the
by
comments are
combined
like,
200
if this was
points.
any other club, they wouldn't be posting this.
I mean, they're not wrong.
I mean, it
They're
is
not
possible.
wrong. It's true. It's true.
But like,
200-point turnaround.
yeah, like I had them.
percentage.
I did a prediction. I'm like, if we beat Carlton by even 60 and they beat Melbourne, like it's 200 points. That's unheard of. It's not going to happen. Like it's not.
I love that in that prediction, it's like, oh, yes, so St Kilda win by 100 points, as if, like, that would ever happen.
But yeah, and then they would have to do the same. So it's
Anyway,
it's all done.
How are we beating Carlton this week?
I mean,
Do you watch the game? And do you know what their injuries are?
well, they're
So it's likely Curnow and Mackay will still be out.
yeah.
But that's also the thing that scares me because that forward line was electric on Sunday. And yes, West
Yeah, but how
Coast were
much can you
totally
read into it?
uncompetitive.
Yeah.
They were totally uncompetitive. But the problem is they didn't know where they were going half the time.
Yeah.
There's in the West Coast defenders. Because it was a makeshift forward line of all these players who have barely touched the football before, and it worked. It's what we did at the start of last year.
It's true.
And I would almost argue that they just played yesterday the best football they've played in about 8 weeks without their best players.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they still have Wiedering, Cripps, Walsh. Like, they're still fielding a pretty good side.
They do, but they've also got Sard, Mackay, Curnow,
Sard, I
about
think-
6 or 7 other players out as
I
well.
think Sard might be the main one that could come in. I think.
Like,
I think they picked up a few other injuries yesterday. Was it
Williams
Boyd?
went
Boyd?
off with
Boyd?
a hammy, but they still haven't confirmed what that is. So
That's a big one.
yeah, they're depleted, but I still think they still will probably have 2 or 3 of the best players on the ground. So
their
I don't know.
immediate, their forward line. I mean, it kind of suits us anyway because we're not a big back line.
Yeah.
So we're pretty mobile anyway. Whereas I think West Coast have got a few gorillas back there that probably aren't the most mobile when the ball hits the deck. Whereas we're known for that with Wilkie, Battle, Dukes, back there. So I don't think it'll cause us much problem. If anything, it's a blessing they didn't have that game against us at least, because now we've watched the West Coast game. We'll understand exactly who the threats are. Kemp is a threat now. Kick 4.
They're still slow though.
But they are still slow.
They are still a very slow team, and
West
that's
Coast
where
aren't
they're
quick.
getting it. Well, West Coast.
I mean, West Coast aren't a lot of things.
West Coast, they're not even competitive, which is where you start.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carlton are still as slow as a wet week. The skills are pretty good.
Yeah,
and their ability to find goals and score from nothing is excellent, and their midfield is excellent. And I think that's where they get on top of other teams. They're sort of like Geelong in a way, except they score a lot quicker than Geelong do.
Yeah.
And they don't play that uncontested football like they do.
Yeah, they'll get down and dirty.
But their ball movement is similar. But yeah, I think...
Well, we talked about it last week. It was like it's playing Geelong and testing us against them is a good sort of practice match for the Carlton game, because I think the fundamentals of how to beat both teams is very similar.
Yeah.
It's pace on the ball, it's run and carry, it's get it in quick, isolate them, because I think, their top tier players are very good, but there's a bit of a cliff when you get to their bottom 7 or 8 players.
Yeah.
I think that's their...
It's even more
That's
now
where you-
because
Yeah,
of
whereas-
those injuries,
we don't have the top tier, but we're so even across the board that, you'll get a lot of 7 out of 10 performances from a lot of our boys. You'll get 10 out of 10s from 4 or 5 of theirs, and then it probably drops a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, they all had to lift on the weekend because they were missing some key posts. We know that. But, we've been missing players too. We understand that. Not to that extent, obviously, but we get it. We're still missing Kingy, Henry, Winhager, Filippo.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of experience in Seb and Crouch. That pre-season, that some of them were best 22 players. Now they're not. But I think I don't think the mindset or the attitude towards how to beat them changes, does it? Based on anything they did yesterday.
Exactly. I do think I'd lay a tag on Patrick Cripps though.
Well, that's the big one. Is
Do we go old
Stocker?
school and put Steele on him like they did 4 or 5 years ago?
But then the issue, is what we talked about before, is Steele is so good that getting forward and impacting the scoreboard when he can be attacking, and if you're on Cripper, you can't really be that attacking.
Do you bring Garcia on and say, okay, this is the one thing you're going to do
Put
this entire game?
Put him on the Brownlow medalist.
Do not let him lay a fingernail on that ball, and if he does, bury him into the dirt. Is that what you do? Because all he has to do in that case is just run with him. And
Potentially.
it might
But
take
then
away from his game.
Just don't know
but
if he's
maybe
big
If
that's
enough.
good
Cripper goes
experience.
forward
Yeah.
and isolates him, but that's when probably Battle or someone has to take him, and then Garcia just goes back to the contest.
Yeah. I thought, Stockert did a good job on Stewart, actually. Stewart didn't have a huge impact on the game. Stockert did well, so I could see that happening.
My concern is Stocker is as slow as buggery. Cripper's quite a deal faster, but Stocker is so slow. He will not be able to keep up. He's good one-on-one, but Cripps will break that tackle and run off. You can be guaranteed.
You reckon he'd break a tackle?
100%, yes.
I don't know.
I don't think Scotter would catch him in the first place, but if he did, yes.
Steele would be the best to lay that tackle immediately before it gets out of the contest.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But just focus on the clearance work as well.
Or do you put Filippo on him?
No, that's a waste of his talent.
Yeah.
Tagging for a player like that is a total waste of talent.
So who goes to Walsh?
I mean, you could always keep him untagged for a quarter and see what happens and just push him out of the game through clearances and
Because that's
stoppage.
a negative. That to me is a negative mindset from the start. And that reminds me of the first bounce, or like the first contest in this game. We had Sinclair as a spare behind the footy. And it wasn't working because they had an extra up near the contest. Where were we getting smashed? Around the ball.
In the contest in the midfield,
Second half, what do? We equalise numbers everywhere. It's one-on-one everywhere. First in, first served. You get the footy, you break. We win it that way. So I kind of, I get Crippers in good form and everything, but that's doing exactly what we did at the start of the Cats game, being negative, being defensive, numbers behind the ball, trying to tag someone. That kind of goes against running and taking the game
I just think Cripps will tear us apart if we don't put attention into him. Like he is one of potentially their best player. The way he plays, like for that club in big moments, like there's a reason he's probably going to win another Brownlow.
Well, then you just do Steele.
Yeah,
you just go to because Steele's had his number for a number of occasions when they've played.
I'm pretty sure he has him every time he plays.
Every time,
and he always pushes him out
games.
pretty
Kryptonite,
well.
Or like Cripper will still have 25. Like he'll keep Cripps to 25 instead of his usual 37 or whatever,
and
he'll get 30 himself. Yeah, and he'll get 30 himself. But the best tackler in the team on form is probably Garcia based on his Sandy record. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Steele did like 10 tackles on the weekend.
Yeah,
but,
true. Yeah.
But yeah, boys, what else to talk about? There was one thing I wanted to mention. Our record against the current top four, which are probably going to be the top four to round out the year. Sydney, we beat them. Port lost by 2 and 10 points. Giants lost by a point. Geelong lost by 8 and then beat them. Never lost by more than 10. I know people will argue, well, we were out of those games, whatever. And that's, it's fair enough. But I think what you want to have in a year where, and something Lee Montagna said
good point.
in the preseason video was that you want to see how you stack up against, those top four sides. And I think we've done a pretty good job, We've had 2 games this year where we got completely blown out by Brisbane and the Dogs. But it's a pretty good record to round the year out.
Yeah, and you look at every team in the top 8. Tell me one team in the top 8 that hasn't had a disgusting loss or 2.
Yeah, it's true.
All of them have.
Yeah.
All of them have.
Just look at Sydney.
Sydney has.
Yeah.
Geelong has. Brisbane has. GWS?
Have they? I don't think they have.
What's their biggest loss of the season?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I by like 6 goals. I heard someone talking about this on radio a few weeks ago.
My point is, it happens to pretty much every team.
Well,
anyway.
I mean, there's a lot of teams who have lost by 80 or more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, Hawthorn were getting pants toward the start of the season. Freo got dumped.
Yeah, Collingwood's been
Collingwood
comfortably beaten a few times.
At Sydney.
Yeah. Essendon. Everyone has, is the point. So when people say, we need to, this is a problem, it's like, nah, that's the outlier. Look at the rest. Look at the 21 other weeks. And like Hunter Clark said, we've been competitive in almost every single game we've played, bar 2 or 3.
But this is the thing as well, like, being competitive is good and all, but at the end of the day, we are still a bottom 4 side. So, like, it's
in a tight
easy.
season too, so we need to look at that.
Well, we're not bottom 4 as well. We're 6th
bottom
last
5
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but I mean,
it's still been a poor year. We've had losses that we shouldn't have had, and I think that's something that we need to accept.
Well,
there've been some great moments.
Accepted.
Absolutely, that's fine, but there's still so much work to be done. We're so far behind the 8 ball because everyone's tracking here, and we're here at the moment.
I reckon it's a bit closer than that. It feels like 2 or say we win 2 of those 6 that we lost by 10 or less.
Yeah,
we'd be 1 game out of the 8.
Yeah, and we would be fighting Carlton for that spot this week.
So I just think the margin is probably slimmer than that. And we're not there. We're definitely not there. But we're probably closer than it feels right now, being on that bottom end of the ladder.
Yeah, well, only time will tell. That's the thing.
Exactly.
We can't definitively say we're there or we're not right now. Fun fact for this game: the last 21 games, last games of the season for Carlton, they've won 1.
Oh,
I don't know when it was, but that's a stat I know.
I like that.
One win,
I don't know why it's really funny. Sorry.
1 win, 21 losses.
Yeah.
So that's the last 21 seasons.
As the final game of the season. They've won 1.
I mean, they were terrible for like 8 years.
But I mean,
Still crazy.
2022.
But that's also crazy.
Their loss against
nuts.
Collingwood was pretty awesome. If we could do that to them, I mean, that'd be
I
unbelievable.
feel like our win-loss ratio against Carlton is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, they see us as a little bit of a bogey team. They hate...
Tim Membry
they
loves
always
Yes.
worry
playing
about...
Carlton.
Yeah.
They always worry about
Skunk
Tim,
is so on.
Tim Membry,
Yeah.
who's been in good form, so keep that up,
And
Skunk.
their back lines.
Jacob Wiedering, what do we do there? Is that a Sharman? Is that a Kamene's not playing? What's the job there for that forward? Because he's not just your proven defender. He is the attacker in the back half. He will rebound and be aggressive and set them up. So what do we do?
Wouldn't mind Coops.
Coops?
Yeah.
Fly for everything. Make him
Yeah.
get into the contest.
Make him earn it. Don't let him win a one-on-one. At least equalise it.
But Wiedering's also the only one back there for them at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you can block him out of the game, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I say that with all due respect to Carlton defenders, but their back line is not good. Bar him, not good. So if you can push him out of the game somehow, even if you play like a defensive attacking role, I don't know.
Yeah.
That could work.
If we do beat them, I'm racing home and watching that Freo Port game and cheering for Freo.
Oh, yeah. I will be right on my phone also rubbing it in.
I mean, imagine that Carlton, Collingwood, Essendon. Ever since Gresh ran through the Essendon cheer squad and celebrated
that was the moment.
what.
Yeah.
It's been all downhill for him. So
Oh, it's going to be I mean, I'm surprised it's not labelled a sellout just yet, but it will be.
yeah.
They'll be over 50.
Usually I
They'll be
just
over
Carlton game.
jump general
Yeah,
admission.
I can't get any more. You can't get any tickets anymore. I don't think.
I'm
just-
from reserve seat.
I'm just GA.
Yeah, I'm JA. as well.
Usually
GA.
I GA to these games, but my grandma was like, "We're not doing GA. Please reserve us tickets because So we've already reserved a bunch of tickets.
Yeah, it's going to be feral up there.
Yeah.
And also it's their home game.
Yeah.
We will
do
be
you know
out
what-
there.
Saints fans, get down because these games suck to be at when there's the other team, Carlton, Essendon, Collingwood, pack it out and there's like 10
But look
Saints
at the
fans
bright
there.
side. If we're winning at quarter time, everyone will leave.
It's true.
The Carlton fan base will just
What-
clear out.
The good thing is, though, like, they're nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I've read a lot of the online stuff, their comments. Even
of
after
course
their
they
win
are.
yesterday, they're not looking
because
forward
they
to this.
beat West Coast. Yeah, got to take that with a grain of salt.
of
West
course.
Coast are abject.
Exactly.
Whereas our form, based on the
Ours-
last 6 weeks, is actually pretty reasonable.
We're 4 of 5. 4 wins from 5. You know,
And they're, what,
and they're one
from...
from 6, I think.
Yeah,
7,
so-
But, I mean, we know Carlton. They can turn it on. They did it last year late in the season against us. We were up. We were comfortable.
Yeah.
And then they went on.
Oh,
a,
that's right.
I
That was a
remember.
They went on a
shocking game.
I remember that
fourth
game.
quarter
You
blitz,
know who lost
and I
it
was
for us?
crying.
Or, I mean, you know who won it for them, I should say?
Paddy Dow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was enormous.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Oh,
That Akers goal where he kicked it and it bounced, and I
Oh,
couldn't
don't.
believe it. I was like, that was the start of the run for Akers through
Do you
the
reckon
finals.
Paddy's going to have a big game?
I was just
against
thinking
his
that.
old
That'd be
foe?
awesome.
Paddy and Stocker.
Because he probably...
Stocks.
They know how they play, right? That's
Yeah.
always my ideology, is you know how your old teammates play. Therefore, you should be having a better game because you'll be able to read them better because you play with them for so long.
Yeah.
That's always my thinking on it. So I
Some
reckon
people-
they're both due for big games.
It's probably like, Luke Ball 2010. Knew every player perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell Malthouse, that's how they play. Job done.
Oh,
Anyway,
this is getting grim.
we're not ending on that.
Jesus
Get to the
Christ,
game.
talk about opening
Get to
old
the game.
wounds.
Yeah. Lads, another real quick one.
Yeah.
Did you see we're getting a new logo next year?
Yeah.
I did see
Rebrand.
that.
What do you think of that?
What's the logo, though?
We don't, no idea. They
Dunno.
just said we're working
If it
on
looks
new.
like that or the 151,
This
but
one?
without the 150,
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. I think I
What
think
if
a
there's a
rebrand's a
little
good
halo
thing.
or like a little Sainter, like a little
Yeah.
player in
I
there?
don't know.
or
I love the crest.
angels?
It's just so classic. The 40th Quo Fidelis is just iconic. Like, better, I
But
don't
by
know.
a
I'm open
rebrand,
to
they
it,
could mean it's literally something like that on the jumper, and that's
Yeah.
permanent. Or they do something with the 150, like that sort of
Yeah.
wreath
Oh,
underneath.
Yeah.
It could be something
What
as
if-
simple as that.
yeah,
I
what
don't
if
think
they
it's
get
going to
rid
be
of
a
the
colour
cross?
change.
If they get rid of the whole thing completely,
better
it's
be
gonna be a
good.
little sad. But it could be part of a new era
Yeah.
Well,
of
exactly.
Saints footy. We always talk about let's move on from 66. Let's forget about 04 and all these. We didn't win anything. Let's build our new future.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the literal way of doing it, is to literally rebrand and be like,
Maybe
you know
so.
what, this
Reband's-
is
it's not a bad thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Freo, it's a bad thing. Like,
as long as the song
from the
doesn't
ankles to
change.
purple, like,
Yeah.
okay, who said that was okay? But
Yeah.
I don't know. With us, like, what more can you do with red, black, and white? They're not going to change the colour scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, they could. I'd be very
I couldn't
shocked.
imagine that.
Yeah. It's something only the Nuffies will care about, but I'm sure we'll all be locked in. Like, what are they doing with this logo?
But it could be awesome as well. Like,
Yeah.
it could genuinely just be awesome.
Yeah.
So-
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about does us for the week,
It
lads.
does. Yeah, nothing else jumps out.
I was looking
gonna
for
be big.
good omens before the game. I walked out of my house and some girl was just riding past on her bike wearing this exact jacket that I was wearing and just looks at me and says, "Hey, go Saints!" And I just was like, "Huh, calm the Saints. We're on tonight. We're on tonight." I love a good omen. Before Collingwood games, if you see something weird with the Magpie, you know that we're off. Something like that happens, you just know we're on though.
Yeah.
So get out there and get some good omens.
Yeah, I
going
went
for
I
us.
went for a kick of the footy on the Saturday morning with Jaden, and we went to the Oakley Chargers ground and slotted a few there for a few hours and felt pretty good going into it. I'm like, yeah, I
You
slotted
two
a
are
few
just
from the boundary.
ridiculous. Shut up. Shut up.
Well, I'll tell you.
Like I got the smashed ever at Hampton Bakery, and I didn't ask for wholemeal bread, but they gave me wholemeal. I'm like, Saints are on.
See, that's a good omen.
And it was a little bit burnt with the Saints logo on it.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
Oh my
Ross
God,
Lyon
that's so
served
weird.
it to
That's
me.
so weird.
Ross Lyon was working. I didn't know what was going on.
I'll tell you an actual good omen. I ran into one of the
There's no
biggest
actual good omens, is there?
legends of St Kilda Footy Club at halftime.
yeah.
Nicky Winmar himself. Got a photo, had a very brief chat with him, and maybe that was it. Maybe that was the turn. Oh man, Nicky's just a man of people though.
Yeah, he is.
He walks
He's awesome.
around and he's just got people, all over him. Like he's just got that legend aura. So it was awesome meeting him. He's such a ripper bloke. My grandma was over the moon.
I bet,
made that day. So anyway, lads, Saints fans, get down if you can. It's obviously going to be huge game.
Yep.
Big crowd. Can't wait for it. Really, let's finish this year off strong.
The Grinch.
Oh,
May he strike again.
Yeah, Ross wasn't lying about that one.
Can some people? I know the cheer squad had the what they have
The hard hats.
The hard hats.
That was
Can we-
so funny,
Can we
by
get,
the way.
Can we get a bunch of Grinch masks and the cheer squad wear them during the game?
Oh, that'd be funny.
Some lady in
Why
the cheer
not?
squad has the alien blow up thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great.
I love that.
I reckon to start building it.
Like we need
We
to
have
get
some
some of those
characters.
banners.
Oh.
Get a Grinch thing going.
Oh.
Someone dress up as the Grinch. That'd be amazing.
Ross the Grinch. Let's steal Carlton season away from them, shall we?
Yeah, let's do
Sounds
it.
good.
Can you Saints?
Go Saints.
Go Saints.